Alright, so in today's video, we seriously need to talk about the upcoming Genshin Impact 6.2 banners, because this patch might end up being one of the most stacked versions we've seen in a long time. Between Durin's debut, Venti's rumored rework, and the possible return of several Mondstadt units through a Chronicled Wish rerun, 6.2 is shaping up to be a huge turning point for both gameplay and lore. There's been a ton of discussion across Reddit and Discord lately, and while none of this is officially confirmed yet, the patterns, client data, and timing all make a lot of sense. So let's unpack everything together and see what's actually going on here. Buy 6,480 Genesis crystals with 6.1 limited pack for only $75 at lootbar.gg. Returning users can also grab an extra coupon for up to 5% off. Link in the description. First, let's start with what seems most certain, Durin. According to Hakush.in's recent 6.1.50 client data, Durin has already been tagged as current, which is always what happens right before a new 5-star release. He's a Pyro sword character, deeply tied to the Hexenzirkel storyline, and lore-wise, he's basically a dragon-turned-human through alchemy. Think of him as a counterpart to Albedo. They're two sides of the same coin, both created through artificial life experiments. Gameplay-wise, though, Durin looks very different. Early leaks describe him as a flexible Pyro support or off-field buffer, with two skill modes called Affirmation of Whitening and Negation of Darkness. Depending on which one you use, his attacks and elemental burst change forms, summoning either the White Flame or Black Corrosion Dragon. That dual-form system gives him a kind of choose-your-playstyle identity, either focus on raw Pyro, damage, output, or reaction-based team support. His passives are especially interesting. In the Whitening form, triggering burning, overloaded Pyro swirl or crystallize reactions reduces enemy Pyro resistance, and the other element's resistance by about 20% for a few seconds, while in the Darkness form, vaporize and melt damage get boosted by 40%. Basically, he's a flexible reaction enabler who can swing between raw Pyro amplification and reaction-heavy gameplay, depending on your team. That's why so many people online are already comparing him to a modern Bennett-Shangling hybrid, but with extra utility and scaling that finally fits Genshin's newer combat systems. If those leaks hold true, Durin could become a top-tier support for Pyro reaction teams, and the fact that he's debuting in a version themed around Hexenzirkel and Mondstadt makes total narrative sense. Now, as for who's running with him, this is where things get really spicy. Most of the community agrees that Verissa is the most likely rerun alongside Durin in the first half of 6.2. The logic comes down to both lore and timing. The Abyss rotation that's been previewed for that patch lines up with Verissa's reaction style, and people have been waiting for her rerun for ages. Comments all over Reddit are basically begging for it. Things like, please let Durin and Verissa share a banner so I can finally C6 Eon-san and C6 Jehovah. Or this banner will absolutely destroy my Primo Gem stash. There's this shared sentiment that if Durin and Verissa really do share the same phase, it'll be one of those patches that everyone ends up pulling on, even if they were planning to save. And speaking of Jehovah, the new 4-star Anemo character, she's another huge reason people are excited about the first half. Her data's already in the 6.1.50 build too, and her synergy with both Durin and Mondstadt units looks strong. Many expect her to debut here, maybe alongside Chevreuse or Eon-san as the 4-stars. That would make the first phase extremely attractive, both for new players and for anyone chasing constellation upgrades. Then there's Venti, the character who might just be getting one of the biggest reworks we've seen in a while. According to several 6.2 beta data mines, he's receiving major tweaks. Again, not confirmed yet, but the details line up with how Hoyoverse has handled old characters recently. His rumored new passive, Magus, Secret Ritual increases a nearby character's damage by about 50% after they trigger a swirl reaction, while his elemental burst is active, and also boosts his own burst damage significantly. On top of that, his burst may now cause his normal attacks to become Anemo-infused hurricane arrows, letting him deal sustained Anemo damage even after his vortex ends. Some sources even claim his constellations are getting small buffs, like giving his whole party a 25% Anemo damage bonus after using a skill or burst, and increasing his burst's critical damage at higher constellations. Again, none of this is officially confirmed yet, but if true, it would basically modernize Venti into a proper hybrid between crowd control and on-field damage dealer. And honestly, that's long overdue. He's been one of the most iconic characters in the game since launch, yet over time, he fell out of the meta as newer supports like Kazuha and Sucrose took over. This kind of rework could bring him right back into relevance. Naturally, that raises the big question: will Durin and Venti run together? And that's where the community is split. A lot of players are hoping for it, mainly because it would make the weapon banner insane. Durin's new sword, plus Venti's rumored signature bow on the same banner would be a dream for collectors. But realistically, it's unlikely. Hoyoverse almost never runs two brand new weapons in the same phase, and as one commenter put it, they definitely are not running two new weapons together. It'll be Durin plus Verissa and then Zeilonin plus Venti. That's probably the most logical arrangement, which brings us to the second half of 6.2. That's where Zeilonin and Venti are expected to appear. Zeilonin's rerun might seem a little early, but considering how strong her weapon Peak Patrol Song is and how it ties into Albedo and the upcoming Mondstadt themes, it actually fits. There's even speculation that Peak Patrol Song could return alongside Albedo's rerun weapon on a later patch, but for now, Zeilonin and Venti together feels like the more likely combo. The reaction from players to the second half has been pretty mixed. Some are thrilled. They want Faruzan constellations with Venti's rerun and like the idea of a Mondstadt heavy team synergy event. Others are frustrated because it's yet another patch packed with strong banners and no break period to save Primo Gems. Still, if Venti's buffs really go live in 6.2, his rerun makes perfect sense here. It ties directly into the Mondstadt storyline and would capitalize on that renewed interest in older characters. Now, this is where things get even more interesting. The possibility of a Mondstadt Chronicled Wish rerun. Several leakers and community posts have brought this up, and while there's been no official mention of it yet, it would fit perfectly with the patch's theme. Think about it. We're getting a Durin story continuation, Venti's back in the spotlight, and characters like Razor and Fischl are already being referenced in event teasers. The last Mondstadt Chronicled Wish was almost 2 years ago, and players are openly asking for it to return. A rerun featuring Mona, Klee, and Albedo would not only align with the revival of classic Mondstadt characters, but also give newer players a chance to grab them again. Historically, Hoyoverse tends to use patches like these to reconnect older regions with new lore. We saw it with Liyue during the Lantern Rite cycles, and with Inazuma during 3.x. So the idea of them doing a Mondstadt-focused Chronicled Wish right when several of its characters are being reworked or buffed makes a ton of sense. It's not confirmed, but I'd say it's a very realistic possibility. If we put all of this together, the expected lineup looks something like this. Phase 1 with Durin and Verissa featuring Jehovah, Chevros, and possibly Eon-san as 4 stars. Then Phase 2 with Venti and Zeilonin, likely with Faruzan and other Mondstadt characters. Durin's release also ties into the Hexenzirkel storyline, while Venti's buff bridges back to Mondstadt's lore. And if a Chronicled Wish rerun really does appear, it would complete the Mondstadt revival arc that Hoyoverse seems to be building toward. From a gameplay standpoint, these banners could be extremely synergistic. Imagine running Durin's pyro-reaction support with Verissa's overload teams, or pairing Venti's upgraded Anemo control with Zeilonin's high-damage burst windows. Even outside of lore, the meta combinations are shaping up to be fun and flexible. It's one of those patches where you can pull almost anyone and still find synergy. So, to sum it all up, 6.2 looks like it's going to be massive. Durin's debut feels like a true evolution of pyro design. Venti's Rework could breathe life back into one of the game's oldest archons, and the rumored Mondstadt Chronicled Wish rerun would make it a nostalgia-driven powerhouse patch. Nothing is confirmed yet, but the leaks, client updates, and community patterns all point toward this being one of those don't skip if you care about Mondstadt versions. And honestly, whether you're saving for Columbina, Skirk, or Varka down the line, 6.2 might still tempt you to spend a few wishes, because it just feels like one of those special patches where everything connects. But that's just my take. What about you? Are you planning to pull for Durin, or are you saving for someone else? Do you think the Mondstadt Chronicled Wish will actually return? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious how everyone's feeling about this one. Anyway, that's all for now. If you want to stay up to date with every major leak, data mine, and community discussion like this one, make sure to subscribe. I'll be covering all the confirmed details once Hoyoverse officially reveals the 6.2 banners, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Buy 6,480 Genesis crystals with 6.1 limited pack for only $75 at lootbar.gg. Returning users can also grab an extra coupon for up to 5% off. Link in the description.